Okay, pro wrestling fans, it's your buddy Mike Messier. Mike Messier here. I am your buddy, and I'm hitting you with a surprise live chat. And you're welcome to watch this as it's happening. If there's some Q&As going on right now, you can ask a Q&A. If you're watching this on the later on replay, that's fine. Right now, I'm just going to get into it. You know, I came here to make some statements and some opinions. People have been asking me, and I'll give credit to Eric. Eric is a subscriber, and to subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel, and a big-time pro wrestling fan for many years. Eric gives a lot of credit to AEW for kind of giving him a jolt of energy as a wrestling fan, just something different. We've talked about that privately. Eric said, Mike, what do you think of this GCW homecoming match? What do you think of Matt Cardona winning the GCW World Championship? I'll be honest, I had to say, what the hell is GCW? So then it all clicked in. A simple search on the internet. It's Game Changer Wrestling, kind of a cool name for a wrestling group. And it was featured in Dark Side of the Ring, the Nick Gage story. So Nick Gage is getting a lot of attention. He can thank the Dark Side of the Ring guys. He can thank, I guess his friend is Moxley, John Moxley. And so I said, man, this whole GCW thing, it's a little outside my comfort zone, but I'm going to find it. And I found this guy named Tantalizing Tony, who had his phone cam. Now, this was not the official stream. This was bootleg shit. I'm being honest with you. Tantalizing Tony going to the show, using his phone to record the show, to record the main event of Matt Cardona, the former Mr. Woo 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 over in WWE, former Intercontinental Champion, and married to the beautiful Chelsea Green, female wrestler. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this. I watched this last night. Last night was Monday night. And I guess the match took place on Friday or Saturday. So I'm watching this, and I know the result, but I really didn't know all the specifics. So I'm watching this thing, and I'm going to give you my visceral reaction and then some analysis. I was pretty hypnotized by it. I was pretty, this reminded me of going to the original ECW, and the fans were totally into it. The live crowd there at this Game Changer Wrestling, I don't even know where the venue was, to be honest with you. It felt like Los Angeles, but it might have been the Pacific Northwest or somewhere. But it was pretty wild, pretty fucking wild, and definitely a raw energy, dangerous energy, perhaps. The fans were almost, I would say, 98 to 99% for Gage, very close to 100% for Gage. Cardona was getting real heel heat. And I haven't been following GCW. Have you? If you are, you're more of a hardcore wrestling fan than I am, because I didn't know that GCW had some weekly TV show or something. You can fill me in if you know if Game Changer Wrestling has this hardcore following. I don't know about it, but pretty hypnotized, And Tantalizing Tony did a pretty good job. I'll probably put his link to his capture, but you can look up Tantalizing Tony. Interesting guy, hardcore wrestling fan. He put his little commentaries on the match, with some stuff. He said he endangered his own life and the life of his daughter to go to this wrestling match and tape it for us fans. So bootlegging lives. But I enjoyed his bootleg. I thought it kind of made me feel like I was there in the audience. I thought it was fun. Now, here's the thing. Cardona wins the title. Some nuances of this match, if you haven't seen it, I guess I'm going to give some spoilers. You can fast forward about 2 minutes in the replay, but basically they did the whole thing where a bunch of thugs come out, a bunch of anonymous guys. I don't know who the hell they were. They're looking to team up. They beat up Gage, and then this other guy, RV something, some guy with initials comes in. He saves Gage from these guys, and then he turns on Gage. And then Cardona is able to get the advantage and win the title. Now, that's just the end of the match. But before that, you've got these giant light structures, these light fixtures, these light bulbs that we've seen. I mean, you can see some of those in Wrestling Sun, my film with John Cronus going back a long time. So, I mean, some of this stuff's been done for decades now. But I guess it doesn't get old. I mean, the novelty of seeing a guy get his fucking head smashed with a light bulb doesn't get old for wrestling fans, or some wrestling fans. Now, here's the bigger picture, I guess. There's a lot of bigger pictures if you really think about it. From the surface level of, oh my God, this is exciting. This is an adrenaline rush. Dave Meltzer's getting some heat because he is condemning the fans that threw crap into the ring after the match. Beer bottles, it's unclear if they were like bottles or like plastic bottles of empty beer, hopefully empty. Hopefully empty. If they were filled, they could kill somebody, to be honest with you. Even a plastic bottle, if it's filled with the velocity, any physicist will tell you that that's heavy enough to knock somebody out or really hurt them. So Meltzer is condoning the fans, which I get. Some have speculated maybe GCW had the fans have some plants, meaning predetermined fans, throw crap in the ring on purpose as a way of getting some attention, which I wouldn't doubt. It's pro wrestling after all. And then the rest of the fans followed suit. But my thought is, look, why condemn the fans when the match is the issue? Like, if anything was going to kill these guys or hurt somebody or even hurt people in the audience, it's these light bulbs getting cracked over heads. There's got to be shards of light bulb material. I don't know if that's glass or whatever it is, but shards that could poke someone's eye out, cut an artery. I mean, you saw Cardona's back. It's ripped to shit. And so my thought is, rather than condemn just the audience, Meltzer, why aren't you condemning the whole fucking match? Like, and that, I guess, goes to another existential thing of, is this hardcore wrestling or deathmatch wrestling, as Eric calls it and others have called it? Is that good for pro wrestling? Is that good for society? How does it exist? I mean, I think if you put any label on it other than pro wrestling, it would be banned. It would be, I'm going to shake this up a little bit. It would be seen as a criminal act. So I don't know, but the same was said for ECW 20 years ago. 25 years ago at this point. Moving forward to, I mean, just seeing Cardona's back. Afterwards, he does a good promo. He says he's the face of GCW. I mean, did this match put GCW on the map, or was it already on the map? You tell me, because for me, it wasn't on the map. This kind of puts it on the map for me, but I don't know if I'm interested in really watching it other than the occasional, what former WWE or AEW star got their heads sliced open. The whole thing with pizza cutters, I guess I question it. I question if it's necessary, but then I'm watching Magnum TA take a chair leg and a shard trying to stick it in Tully Blanchard's eye socket, 30 years ago or whenever that was. So time flies. There's always going to be a call for the brutality in wrestling, I think, to some extent. And maybe that's why people are turning away from WWE, because when they do things like Hell in the Cell and they have women's Hell in the Cells matches and there's no blood, or even the men's Hell in the Cell matches have no blood. Why are you calling it Hell in a Cell when there's no blood? So I think people always are going to have that thirst. If you're a wrestling fan, you have a thirst for something crazy and something fucking buck wild. And this fills that niche or niche. I don't know what to say. I haven't been following Cardona, insulting the fans. I mean, these fans on the surface, they seem a little brainwashed. It's a cult. It feels like a cult anyway. I don't know if it is a cult, but this whole MKA, which I think the abbreviation is murder, kill, whatever it is, murder, death, kill. MDK all day, every day. I don't know. I mean, you look at the people that are chanting it, and they're fat and they're overweight wrestling fans. And am I expecting these white fat people to be in a gang? No. They're living vicariously through Nick Gage. Now, is Nick Gage actually in a gang? That might be a different story. So I didn't see the whole card, Eric, and for everybody, I haven't watched the whole GCW card. But hey, it's getting the top story today. It is. So, I mean, I give them credit. It was something different. I did like the touch of the action figures in Tantalizing Tuesday's video capture. There's a fan who's got a test action figure that Cardona brought to the ring. I guess I question it. I mean, I don't know if I question. I observe that guys like Cardona feel like they've got to prove something to the wrestling world. Hey, the WWE didn't use me right. They didn't appreciate my YouTube channel. And so now I'm going to go and I'm going to get my head sliced open with a pizza cutter and smash light bulbs over my head. And this guy's going to stab me in the back with a light bulb. And I'm going to have this huge gash to prove that I'm hardcore. Okay, prove it. But what's his quality of life going to be like? And maybe his wife is turned on by that. You know, maybe that's a kink for them. I don't know. But I mean, to me, a sensible person like Chelsea seems to be, but I don't know her. Is she going to appreciate having her husband with all these fucking nasty scars on the body for his rest of his life? I mean, that back scar, that's going to be there for a while. And you're talking about sharing blood with another guy, all these pieces of glass floating around. This is not exactly healthy stuff. You know what I mean? And is it me being too concerned about these guys? I guess. But just thinking from a logical, reasonable point of view, does this shit make sense? If you care about Nick Gage, if you care about Nick Cardona or humanity, is this something that you can really get behind? For the moment you can, because it's fucking fun to watch it. I'm trying to cover both bases here. I mean, look, I saw plenty of fucking hardcore matches in ECW, not as hardcore as this. I saw Axel Rodden's last wrestling match ever, Extreme Rising against Balls Mahoney. And even that was a hardcore kind of a brutal thing. And those guys were best friends. I'm going to share at some point a chair shot I have captured on video when I set it up properly. It's an ECW chair shot. It's going to be a hot take. It's going to be very controversial when I get around to doing that. But I'm going to show you that chair shot. I'm not sure if the video captures what it was like to see it in person, but I'm going to share that and we'll have a commentary about it in the future. Moving on to Fighter Fest AEW. I want to make some statements here. So I did another video on Fighter Fest analysis week 1. I might start doing this, guys, because I'm getting so angry about the state of WWE with how they're treating Karrion Kross, Keith Lee. I'm getting so pissed off about I have been for 3 or 4 years. We know that. That's the angry wrestling fan. But if I enjoy AEW and I can lend some analysis that maybe other people aren't, or just doing something different, I'm sure there's AEW people out there that are pissing on it, but I'm going to try to give it some constructive criticism. And the first Fighter Fest week 2. So this was the one that was on Wednesday. So 5 days ago, I'm behind, but the show starts off and Jim Ross's microphone is either low or it's off. It was corrected pretty quickly, like by the time you get to the third match, it seemed to be cleared up. But Jim Ross's microphone was on low, which was a little bit annoying because, he's the voice of AEW or whatever. Sean Spears in this opening match, the 5 Labors of Jericho. I am kind of marking out for that title, like the 5 Labors of Jericho. Kind of a cool thing, or the 5, it's not labors, it is labors. So, and MJF made a joke about Jericho being pregnant. That was funny. But once again, you're kind of calling your opponent out of shape and fat. So, I mean, you know what I mean? That's an old Cornette thing. Like, if you're insulting your opponent and calling them old and fat, then you just beat an old and fat guy. So AEW, along with WWE and a lot of wrestling these days, breaks traditional stuff, which I don't think is good, but that's what they do. So Sean Spears has this whole DQ chair thing. We don't have to go into the whole dynamics of it. But simply put, we know that fucking Jericho's going to win these matches. I mean, he's got to get to MJF. You're not going to have Sean Spears just beat Jericho. Now, going into this thing, I assumed that it was going to be Sean Spears and the other Pinnacle guys, the FTR and Wardlow, and that Jericho was going to have to get through all 4 of those guys, which I thought was interesting. They were putting Spears as the first victim, the first defeated guy, because that's putting him below in rank to the tag team guys. Well, the surprise came to me once Jericho wins the match, which we saw coming, that it's actually Nick Gage going back to CCW. So Nick Gage is having a hell of a week. So I'm trying to put this timeline together. I guess Nick Gage was still the champion on this Wednesday and then went to the weekend, either the Friday or Saturday, and lost the title if I have the. Well, Nick Gage, horrible teeth, but I mean, he's earned his horrible teeth. I'm not going to piss on Nick Gage. I really don't know enough about him to have a comment. But Jericho sold it great. Jericho sold like, oh shit, I got to wrestle this guy. And I think what I'm getting from watching AEW, the Dark Side of the Ring, and now this match between Cardona and Nick Gage is like Abdul the Butcher. He's like, oh shit, New Jack. Like, whether you win or lose, you're going to get fucked up. On a level, this whole thing with Jericho and MJF and Nick Gage worked, because I'm concerned for Jericho. Like, there's some part of it, oh shit, Jericho's going to get his fucking head run over with a pizza cutter, or is he going to put a pizza cutter in his mouth? And here's the catch. I mean, look, obviously Jericho's agreeing to this and probably wanted to wrestle Nick Gage. On some level, all these guys are nuts and want to prove their manhood, even at age 50 for Jericho. And he wants to say he did one more thing. He survived a Nick Gage match, and obviously Jericho's going to win. But I start thinking in my little mind, how can they protect Jericho and get a victory without ruining the prestige of Nick Gage? Like, can they do an interference? Maybe Cardona comes in and interferes. Something happens. Might be kind of interesting if they bring in this open door policy and they have Cardona do a run in and help Jericho beat Gage without getting pizza cutters all over Jericho's forehead at age 50. I guess I just think, like, is it whatever they're going to do next Wednesday night, and I think that show is in Charlotte, North Carolina, Jericho is going to come out of it with a few more scars, right? Because you can't have a Nick Gage match on AEW, promote it. Jericho's not going to go in there just to wussy out on it. He's going to do something that's going to be fucking nuts. In other words, you're going to get your money's worth, especially because you're watching for free, unless you're in the live audience. So I think it's interesting. Now here's a technical question, a storyline thing. It's not a question. It's an obvious wrestle thing. Okay, Shawn Spears is in this match against Jericho. If Shawn wins, the 5 labors are over, right? So Jericho, in theory, has to beat every guy in succession in order to be the next guy. Well, did MJF have no confidence in Shawn Spears? Because as soon as Shawn Spears' match is over and he's lost to Jericho, MJF is right there to announce the next opponent, Nick Gage. And Nick Gage has suddenly music. Suddenly he's got an entrance. And when they cut to commercial after Jericho's facial expressions, suddenly Nick Gage is on the graphic. Now, the response to this is, well, Mike, it's pro wrestling. Well, that's the thing that you and I disagree with, because to me, if they wanted to execute this and make it seem legitimate and real, don't have fucking music and don't have a fucking graphic. Less is more. You sell it more by being real. You sell the authenticity of it and the realness of it more by having less. Well, what's the less, Mike? You don't need the fucking graphic of Gage versus Jericho popping up 2 seconds after this quote surprise quote announcement. Granted, we're all wrestling fans. We all get the fucking deal. I understand, assholes. But if you want to sell this thing as legitimate on another level, then you don't have to have a fucking music for Gage and you don't have to have a graphic. Try it, assholes. See what happens. I'm getting a little more angry now. I'm a nice guy. I just had a nice morning, but now I'm getting pissed. You might be wondering, Mike, is that actual sweat? Yes, I had my morning workout. So it's actual sweat on the Lucha Brothers shirt. The Miro promo, once again, I'm liking these Miro promos. But they had Cody mentioned in the promos for 2 weeks from now, or the next show in Homecoming in AEW Jacksonville. And so Cody was kind of mentioned in those promos. So is it going to be a Cody match? But then they said later on, Cody versus Aleister Black. So it seems like a little bit of mixed booking, meaning the promo would lend one to think it's Cody versus Miro, which is actually pretty good feud down the line. But why isn't that happening right away? We've got a new viewer in here. You can catch up later, viewer, if you want to say anything. Go right ahead. Then we had Darby Allin and the Sting thing. Okay, so this new guy, I forget his name already, but the new guy that Orange Cassidy was with, he's a good hand. He's a good wrestler. This Orange Cassidy buddy, he lost last week. He lost this week. I don't see anything wrong with guys losing, coming into the promotion and losing in a good competitive match when they don't have all this hype. Compare that, yes, to, sorry, Johnny, compare that to Nick, to Karrion Kross losing on his first Raw match in 2 minutes or less, and then Hardy. And I've covered that already. I want to stick with AEW, but my point is there's a way to bring a guy into a promotion with losing matches to get him warmed up in order to start winning later on. You might even get the crowd behind him. And so this new buddy of Orange Cassidy and all those people, the Sting kicking Orange Cassidy back and forth, that was really a meme-worthy thing. I don't know if they did that thinking in terms of memes. A nice little touch by Sting was when he did like the beating of the chest. Like, that was pretty good. I mean, that's why people are liking AEW, because of these little nuances that feel organic and that, other companies aren't doing. Dr. Britt Baker, Nyla, why not have a storyline behind this match? Look, it's too late now, but if I had been writing for AEW, and I know they're too cool for writers, but I would have had a whole thing, and I had this idea, and I had this captured on video somewhere on some podcast, that Dr. Britt Baker should have refused to defend her title against Nyla Rose. And the reason is because, well, she's not really a woman now, is she? And the whole point is, use this transgender story of Nyla Rose for ratings. Use it to get on The View, the women's talk show. Use it to have a debate. AEW and their political correctness, and see, I can criticize AEW just as much as I can criticize WWE if I want to. Basically, why not exploit, yes, I'm using the word exploit, this story of this transgender athlete to, it's a hot topic, as they say. Wendy Williams, The View, Chelsea, I'm thinking of Chelsea Green. Britt Baker doesn't want to defend her title against Nyla Rose. Why? Because she's afraid of her, because Nyla Rose was born a man. Oh my God. Now we've got to have a fucking story about it. And you can have lawyers come in. You can have analysis come in. You can test Nyla for testosterone levels. Is this exploitive? Yes. That's the point, assholes. Let's make a story of this, because this match that we saw, which was basically a giveaway match on free TV, which is fine because they only do 4 pay-per-views a year. They're going to have plenty of matches, AEW, that are made, pay-per-view quality matches that are given away for free. But there was not enough hype for this thing. The match actually delivered. Like, if this had been a pay-per-view main event match, no one would really have complained about it, with Britt winning with the submission. But if you had a storyline that was worthy of the actual match, holy fuck, that's when you need a Mike Messier in your company, because I would have, like I said, the storyline would have been Dr. Britt doesn't want to wrestle this person because she doesn't consider her a woman. And now Nyla has got some baby face. The fans are maybe fighting with each other because some of the fans are like, yeah, Britt's right. Fuck that freak. And Nyla people are like, no, she's a woman. She's a real woman. Yay. And you cause goddamn controversy. It's a storyline that, yes, it's thought-provoking, it's edgy, it's challenging, and you get this goddamn story into the mainstream. You get this goddamn story, people buzzing, talking about it. Oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this storyline. That's when you have to have, pardon the pun, but some fucking balls. I mean, you can just throw guys in exploding death wire matches that don't exactly work, or you can actually have some intellect behind your storylines like I'm proposing, and that's what I'm proposing, and that's what I would do if I was working with a goddamn company. I'd put some intelligence and some emotion behind these storylines, not just have matches, assholes. So what's next? But it was a good match. The press conference thing, okay, the Santana Ortiz and the other guys, the FTR. I like FTR. I was enjoying watching them wrestle tag team matches every week for a while. The press conference, I thought, was decent, a little short. It didn't feel totally legitimate. And why are you bringing these photos, like the family photo? This is my mom. She sued the New York City, he just happens to bring these photos with him everywhere he goes. He happens to bring the newspaper clippings. It's either Santana or Ortiz. I can't remember the name. Sorry, but well, you just happen to bring these nostalgic family photos to a wrestling press conference. I mean, here's an angle, assholes. Have the photos get ripped up. Have them get into a brawl, and then the photos fall on the ground, and the FTR guy picks up the photo and rips it. And oh my God, it was a one-of-a-kind photo. Heat, assholes. I'm just trying to bring the fucking heat. I mean, just these details that these fucks don't think of that I do, 5 days later. But fuck, I mean, that's what you do. You rip up the goddamn photo. And here's the thing, camera trick, you don't have to rip up the actual photo. You ever saw the Von Erichs painting get smashed over the head over, Al Madrill smashing the painting of the Von Erichs? It's simple enough to fucking do this. It's not rocket science. I'm just trying to help. Great podcast, by the way. Great statements. I'm just so informative. And I actually do take fucking notes. I've got my notes right here. Interesting that Chavo Guerrero is not being introduced as Chavo Jr. anymore. Just an interesting thought. I guess I've never been a junior. I guess guys that are juniors after a while, well, I'm the guy now. I'm not a junior anymore. So I guess he's no longer Chavo Jr. He's just Chavo. But I like Chavo. I wrote that this was a little too WWE-ish for me. Like when they're doing their promo, Andre Idole or whatever, and Chavo, not Jr. And the other guys come into the ring or come out on the stage for this promo, the Death Triangle, which I do like the Death Triangle. Look at the fucking Lucha Brothers shirt on. It felt very WWF-ish to me. Meaning that, okay, we're saying something and somebody's music hits and then they're going to say something and then we're going to say something. And then all of a sudden we're going to have a match. Okay, fine. It felt very WWE-ish. And I guess I'm giving credit to WWE because that's something. And there's a lot of stuff on this show, actually, or not a lot, but enough. Like the backstage thing with the wrestlers standing by the monitors. A lot of stuff felt like WWE. And so people that want to say, AEW is a WWE knockoff, well, here's some points in that factor for you, in that favor. Andre's promos were hard to listen to. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not trying to discriminate. I appreciate that he's speaking English. I'm glad that he's got other guys to do the talking, to be honest. And maybe for a certain aspect of the populace, which is fine, people that have accents that maybe English is their second language, they can get behind Andre because they feel like he represents them. Like, hey, English is our second language too, and this guy is struggling with his English, but we can understand him and we get behind him. I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying his English was a little hard to understand, but you can make that work, and that's fine. I do think that Andre on one side of the ring, fucking Pac on the other, or Andre versus Pentagon, fuck, I'd like to see Chavo, not Junior, wrestle again. He looks pretty good. So, look, Chavo, not Junior, the health that he's in, wrestling kind of a moderate, basic wrestling style. Look at him and then look at Nick Gage and tell me who looks better at this age. And Chavo's probably 10 or 15 years older than Nick Gage. Look at Chavo, not Junior, versus Matt Cardona tomorrow. I mean, Cardona's going to be fucked for a long time. I actually do have WWE thoughts. I'm saving them for last. Now we've got to this final thing of another kind of hardcore match. But see, this is kind of the difference. This level of hardcore match between Moxley and Murder Hawk, that's more my comfort level. Like that Texas death match, you got some blood. You end on one big spot with the barbed wire table. I didn't think Moxley was too hurt because going through a table and getting caught in barbed wire, he couldn't get up. He was stuck in the bar. So I thought that this Murder Hawk guy is one of these guys that always puts other guys over. He put Miro over. He put this one over. He put that one over. Finally, somebody puts Murder Hawk over, and he gets this, New Japan, United States title, whatever. It doesn't mean much to me, to be honest with you. I'm sure it's got a great hit. I mean, I think the title's only been around for 3 or 4 years, but I will give them credit, and I'll give Moxley credit. He put a guy over, and for Mr. Big Shot, Shield, WWE, Renee Dupree, or whatever her name is, Renee Young, Renee Paquette. I thought it was good that Moxley did the favors for this guy, and Murder Hawk I mean, I hate to do that shit. You deserve it, but he deserved to win a match eventually. He's been losing so many goddamn matches. He finally wins a match of significance. And I think that if he didn't win this match in Texas, a Texas death match, if Murder Hawk didn't win this fucking match, he's a fucking jobber. So, they did what they had to do. They salvaged this guy. They put, and he doesn't have to defend that title a whole lot on AEW. So I think it's fine because now he can go back to putting other guys over. So I thought it was good. It salvaged Murder Hawk, and Moxley doesn't really come out the less. I mean, with Moxley, it's like he just has to be in the mix. He doesn't really have to win. Did he ever get a rematch against Omega, by the way? Thunder out here. Okay, I did watch a few snippets of Raw last night. Still enjoying Raw protests, but I will give him credit. A guy that I Twitter debate with quite a bit, Kevin Castle, and he kind of, not to say he represents, but his tag team partner is Johnny Z, who I think sometimes likes to provoke me, which is fine. I enjoy it. But it's all in good fun. So Kevin, and I don't know if he was responding to me or not, because I did put I did say Keith Lee was being used as a job guy. I don't know if Kevin was watching my video and responded. If he did, thanks. But I was one of those people that was kind of upset that Keith Lee is jobbing to Bobby Lashley and Karrion Kross is jobbing to Jeff Hardy and all that shit that I'm pissed off about. And Kevin he seems like a really nice guy. And Kevin made a tweet that basically is like, the real story here is that Keith Lee, something looks wrong with him. Meaning the loss last night to Karrion Kross. And I think even some folks were saying that the week before to Bobby Lashley. So he's lost 2 weeks in a row. It's not about losing the matches. It's like, to me, what's going on is he looks 10 to 30 pounds heavier. I would probably lean to the 20 or 30 pounds heavier. With a guy that big, it's weird because if someone's smaller, like if you see a 120-pound woman and she gains 10 or 20 pounds, you notice it. With a big guy, myself included, the body is just different because you could have muscle that replaces fat. You could have fat that you know what I mean? It's just a different thing with big guys. Like I've gained weight and people said, oh, you lost weight. And I've lost weight and people say, oh, you look like crap. You know what I mean? So with bigger dudes, once you get into that 275, 300-pound thing, 10 or 20 pounds, it really does change everything. So I think my point is it could just be that he whatever he was doing at home, he sat around. It looks like he gained some fat, to be honest. It looks like there's bulk there, but it just doesn't look right. Like the cardio, maybe some muscle. Maybe he's been weight training, but also eating. And so Keith looks like he's a little sluggish or slow. I'm not saying it's all fat. There could be some, half of it is muscle weight, half of it is Twinkie weight, but he doesn't look good. And so I think with a big guy like that, myself included, I can relate. You got to do the cardio, which we all hate to do fucking cardio. A big guy's worst nightmare is cardio. We'll lift the weights, but we don't want to do fucking cardio. Fuck that. That's the feeling, right? So I think what could be happening is Keith could be having some health issues. Now I question on the Twitter feed, why aren't the supposed doctors of WWE doing a health check? I mean, is this guy getting a physical before the match? I mean, they talk about the whole Yokozuna thing. If you ever listen to Jim Ross talk about, or Bruce Pritchard without a T, they talk about Yoko and what's his dick, Vader. Sorry, Vader, but Vader and Yoko going to the weight loss clinic in I think Boston, and they didn't lose any fucking weight because they were eating pizzas late at night. They were sneaking out and going to the pizza place or the fried chicken place, which is kind of a sad story, to be honest with you. If someone's paying for you to lose weight and you're not honoring that and you're sneaking out to go to the pizza place, that kind of sucks. So my point is, I just don't think Keith Lee looks great. I think that he's probably, whether it's a year from now, 14 months from now, he's not going to be in that company forever. And it's just not a good fit. And I think it can be a thing where he felt very empowered by NXT. He felt very loved and appreciated by NXT. When he got to the main roster and immediately they're putting this moo-moo on him and they're changing his music, that's when he kind of felt like, okay, fuck, I'm not loved here. Vince doesn't like me. And that's when he stops putting the effort in, and the fans get into it. And I really don't believe, to be honest with you, that the fucking Twitter accounts for these WWE wrestlers are really their Twitter accounts. So when Keith Lee is saying, well, I'm going to tell the story on my own terms, I think that's storyline bullshit, to be honest with you. I'm not buying it. In other words, if someone's under contract at WWE, I don't trust their tweets. I don't trust that it's Becky Lynch tweeting or any of these fucks tweeting. So I'm not going to buy into this bullshit. Heli Mix video, watch my Heli Mix video in case you're wondering what the hell this is. What else did I watch on this god-awful show? I zipped through it, and I just had to stop watching it. But just seeing Charlotte and Rhea Ripley and what's her face, Nikki ASH, and Charlotte goofed and called her Nikki Cross. Was he calling her Nikki Cross on purpose because she's not accepting her new name? Or was that just Charlotte screwing up? I'm sorry. Look, body shaming someone accused me of? No, it's not. It's Charlotte with this plastic surgery, looks like a different person. I didn't have an issue with her face earlier. My point is that these women in WWE who get all these plastic surgeries, enhancements, if you would, I'm assuming and guessing there's pressure from the higher ups to do so. Peyton Royce with her main roster fun bags. So people who mention this, whether it's Dave Meltzer or myself or whoever, we get criticized or body shaming, yet these women are reinforcing to their young female fans that you have to get underneath the plastic surgeon's knife in order to have a job. That's what they're enforcing. We're just making statements. You know what I mean? So when these women who look good to me, but they have to get their plastic surgeries done, that's, in my opinion, which is accurate, they're teaching the young women of the world, the young female fans, if there are any, you're not good enough the way you are, because we're not good enough the way we are, because we have to get our bodies shaped and our noses fixed and our breasts enlarged. That's the lesson WWE is teaching the young women, assholes. It's not about me or Meltzer or anyone else body shaming the women. It's about them body shaming society. So think about that, you fuck. That's it. Interesting. I mean, you know, this is not my concern, but just something that came up. It kind of makes me think a little bit. My buddy Vince Russo, great guy, but, you know, had a little bit of a Twitter interaction. I guess he made a big announcement that he's got Sean Morley, the former Val Venus, and this other guy, this Aubrey Huff individual who I know nothing about, but I guess he's famous. I don't give a shit. Proud father, anti-vaxxer, ab model, and two-time WS champ, I guess World Series. Congratulations. I believe in God, free speech, America, guns, whiskey, and toxic masculinity. CEO, Alpha American. I just don't give a fuck. So I guess the whole big basically, he's an anti-vaxxer, which tells me all I need to know. But I guess he's going to be on the new Vince Russo Realm Network. I think it's a bad choice. I look into this guy, and one of his first tweets, this Aubrey Huff's guy, Donald Trump was just God's grace to show you how manipulated you are by both parties. The Democratic and Republican Party are playing all of us. It's smoke and mirrors, divide and conquer. The true enemy is our own government, not our neighbor. I'm with him until he says God's grace. I'm like, okay. I'm almost with him in the last part of the Trump, last part of the fucking thing of the tweet. Everything but the Trump stuff. I don't think Trump was God's grace. I just don't see that. It is paranoid bullshit. It's then the whole anti-vaxxer thing. He's got a fucking tweet. There has been a line drawn in the sand the last week. A war is coming. Pick your side. I just don't need this crap in my life. I just don't know. I mean, he seems like an idiot, to be honest with you. I mean, whatever, man. Who gives a fuck? So now my Twitter thing has exploded. A lot of people are excited. You know what I mean? Vince Russo is playing the freedom of, you can check out Twitter if you want to see this, but Vince is playing the freedom of expression card, which is fine, the freedom of speech. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I just, you know what I mean? Who knows? I like Vince Russo, but it's just, I like Vince Russo a lot. Vince Russo's great, but I get the whole freedom of speech thing. But I like that. But I guess this guy, you know, when you start saying anti-vaxxer, you know, Trump is God's grace, you lost me. I don't give a shit what you have to say. You know what I mean? And I have Republican fucks on my feed. You know, the Jimmy Doan show, I watch him. I watch Ben Shapiro clips. I'll watch Candace Owen clips. And, hey, there's good points. And trust me, I've sat there and watched the creepy Uncle Joe videos. I've sat there and been horrified at those things. So, I mean, I'm not too happy with anybody. Who knows? Maybe this guy's got a point. It's all bullshit, you know, so who knows? But I just, when he says that Trump is God's grace, you kind of lost me. I'm out. Anyway, hate to end on this weird note, but as far as pro wrestling goes, you got another AEW show coming up. And, you know, it looks like a pretty good big card, and they have another big card coming to Jacksonville. So subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Thanks for checking out the replay of the live stream. It was fun. I hope you enjoyed it. That's it, Mike Messier. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. If you have any questions, you leave them in the comment. I'll pick them up next time. Thanks.